Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and even good evening. Today I have come here with new title of business communication. Last time I told you there are three types of communication methods. First is verbal, second one is non-verbal, and third one is visual communication. So today I'm talking about non-verbal and visual communication, right? Methods. Okay, let us see. What is non-verbal? Non-verbal communication broadly refers to communication carried out by means other than words. Non-verbal means we do not communicate with the verbs. There is none without words. No words but gestures. In this sense, words are taken as verbal elements, and non-verbal means only the communication carried out with the gestures, movement, facial expression, and other things, right? However, it is difficult to separate verbal from non-verbal communication, right? Even in non-verbal communication, sometimes words come in the use. In our daily communication practice, we use non-verbal cues along with verbal ones. Both non-verbal and verbal ones would be used in both forms in our communication practice. Non-verbal communication is inseparable from the overall communication process, mainly oral communication. In oral communication, non-verbal is inseparable. They cannot be isolated. They cannot be separated. They come together. Verbal and non-verbal go on taking simultaneously in the process of communication. But non-verbal especially is based on the movements of the body. See, body movements, gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, proximity means nearness, and touch. We touch someone are important non-verbal cues we use to convey message to our audience. Yes, main points when we talk about non-verbal communication is to give attention towards the movements of the body, towards the gestures, towards the facial expressions, towards the eye contacts and proximity and touch, how we communicate our message to the audience. These are the ways of methods of using non-verbal communication message to the audience. Non-verbal communication is very much useful in the interview process. When we are in the interview, and there it is very much important. Standard grooming and clothing. See, that gives a kind of convention. Clothing conventions like having formal dress, avoiding strong fragrances and cosmetics, right? We must avoid strong fragrances. We must avoid strong cosmetics. We must not have just conventional clothing, right? We must have formal dressing, better grooming, that is required. And that non-verbally, these grooming, cosmetics, and clothing give a kind of message to the interviewers. Making eye contact, right, and projecting positive body language. There should not be negative body language. Positive body language would give positive sign of non-verbal communication. So there will be positive and negative as just communication even through the non-verbal communication system. We need to show interest and create rapport, means good relationship, by making eye contact when we are listening and speaking to the interviewers. When we are listening as well as speaking to the interviewers, and we must show our interest towards the job, what we are going to do. We must create a kind of rapport, means good relationship through the eye contact to the interviewers. We must listen carefully, and all these activities that a person carries is useful as a non-verbal communication method. We need to maintain the body postures by sitting straight. We should not sit in a careless manner, straight, and need to avoid the dramatic gestures and body movements. There in interview, dramatic gestures and the movement of the body, unnecessary movements of the body should be avoided. That must be properly given attention, right? We need to use minimum gestures to emphasize words and phrases. We must not use a lot of gestures. We must not minimum gestures. is required even in interview to emphasize certain words and to emphasize certain phrases. We must avoid in displaying negative body language like frowning. We should not show that sort of negative body language, and displeasure, irritation, and the like. These sort of things must not be displayed, because these are the non-verbal ways of communication that communicates the message to the interviewer. If we have the frowning, negative body language like frowning, displeasure, and irritation, and that does not give better ideas to the interviewers. Facial expressions, movements of the body, and gestures would be the best form of non-verbal communication. Would be, there is B is missed, right? That is the idea. Now, what is visual communication then? Non-verbal means without using the words or the words, that is called non-verbal communication. Now, visual communication means just we see the objects, we see the certain things, and we communicate, and meaning can come through the visual objects, right? Visual communication refers to the process of transmitting ideas and information through the forms that can be seen. Transmitting ideas. We transmit ideas. We transmit information through the forms that can be seen, through the objects that can be seen. In other words, the audience in visual communication receives the message through the sense of sight. There must be sight. Just seeing something through the sense of sight, they can get the message. They can receive the message. Visual communication includes signs, symbols, graphics, pictures, and maps. These are the visual objects. Signs are the visual objects. Symbols are the visual objects. Graphics are there. Pictures are there. Maps are there. Those maps are speaking themselves. Those pictures are speaking themselves and communicating the message, right? In our daily life, we rely more on visual communication than we actually realize, right? In visual communication, we rely actually more than it is realized. Communication through the visual objects would be more concrete. Yes, there would be words, there would be maps, there would be pictures, there would be symbols. That symbols and maps and the objects can give a better concrete idea in the mind. So it is a more concrete one. The speaker knows the objects better than the words about the objects, right? See, if we use the word about the object, that is not clear. But if we use that object, that becomes better. The visual image can give a kind of clear concept for the understanding and communicating the ideas. Yes, understanding and communicating ideas, that visual image gives better ideas. So after verbal communication, there is visual, non-verbal, and visual communication. These are the three different methods of communication of language. Now we are going to talk about different idea beyond that communication method. Now, writing process, how we write, this is another topic. Now this is not related with the visual and non-verbal only. It is writing, how we write, how we give the message through the writing. What are the process of writing, how we write. And writing is a complex process. It's not so easy. It is called circular and receive process, right? Recursive process. It is not so direct. In other words, the writing involves the processes like rewriting, writing, revising, and editing. Rewriting means making planning. Writing means that is drafting, first draft. Revising means revising that draft. Editing means editing the whole writing at last, talking about grammar and other things, right? But writing is not so easy task. It is quite complex. For the purpose of business writing, the process can be simplified into three stages. Rewriting, that is planning. Writing, the draft, that is first draft. Revising the draft, and then editing the draft. Many students have failed in the generating. The is more, the is mistaken there. In generating the effective and coherent piece of paragraph, right? Many students do not know how to generate effective as well as coherent piece of paragraph in writing. Writing has become very poor in the younger generations, and it is a kind of bad news. But the good news is that Writing can be learned and improved through training and practice. Though younger generations do not have good command over writing, generating good sentences, generating good ideas, and coherent paragraphs, logical ideas, logical paragraphs, but there is even good news that writing can be learned, writing can be improved, writing can be just made better through training and practice, right? Now, even in writing, there is generally group work and collaborative process of writing. Okay, and that would be better nowadays in modern times. Instead of single author, group authors are coming. A collaborative process of writing is coming, and multiple ideas come there in the text. Many minds can have many ideas, different ideas, and then we make group, and then those ideas can be incorporated in the text. That would be better. Okay. In business writing, we often have to work in a group and collaborate, right? Collaboration and group work is required in preparing long business documents like business plans, proposals, and reports. If we are doing those things, and then we need, right, group work. We need just collaborative work. Planning the document. When we plan a kind of document, how to write, what sort of things to write. Collecting data or information, then we need to collect the data. We need to collect the information for writing. Without data, without information, we cannot write. Drafting or writing the first draft, we write first create one first draft, and then review and revision, right? That is another. This is the process of collaborative work. Now, as a teamwork, collectively identify the purpose. In collaborative, we need to just identify the purpose of writing. Readers, we need to identify the readers and the scope of the document, what it can be useful, or who can read and who do not read, and why we do write. That sort of things must be almost known in the teamwork. The second step is to brainstorm. We need to just have brainstorm and outline the entire documents into chapters and sections. That is what to be done in a group work. Then is to assign the chapter and the sections to individual teamwork members. There would be different individuals, and certain chapters should be isolated, separated sections, and certain sections should be given to the certain people to write. But the division should be according to the expertise of the members, skills of the member, what sort of skills they have, what sort of expertise they have. On the basis of their expertise, on the basis of their skills, the writing section should be divided, should be given. The division must be made, right? Sections should be divided. The team must follow either the APA or MLA style. Means this is a writing. MLA style is modern language approach. AP means American, right, psychological approach. That these two style, either APA or MLA. MLA is usually used in literature, literary writing, and APA is out of literary writing. Members of the team should work independently, indecently, and then independently also, right? Additionally, team members should share each other's plan, what they have the plan, and should draft and what are their plans, their drafts and works in progress, how they are doing their work, what is the progress of their work, what sort of draft they have made, what sort of plan they are just doing, and they should share everything, because it is a collaborative work, it is joint work, teamwork, and it is what is required to share and then identify the ideas, how it is going on ahead and how it can function properly, right? Without collaboration, without just sharing that collaborative process of writing, it is not possible to write well. Now, drafting data, how we draft. During this phase, each team member needs to prepare a specific outline of their segment with the necessary details to write the first draft. They must create what they want to write. The individual must find important information not included in general outline prepared by the team. They should find out the information, what is included and what is not. If the important ideas are not included there, and that must be discussed, that must be included. The team should be flexible to discuss and refine the outline of the if necessary. The team should be flexible. They should not be rigid. They should be quite ready to discuss and refine their own ideas necessary. Drafting and writing. See, the team must arrange frequent meetings to discuss the main points each writer is working on. What the main point that each writer is working, that must be shared with the other members of the team, and then they can connect and relate the related ideas, right? Because each writer must agree on the main points. If they disagree, and the writing cannot go smoothly, and their ideas must fit in the whole document. If someone brings another point, and if that whole document is not related to that particular idea that is brought by the another writer, another person, and then that must be discussed on time. After completing the draft, the group must sit and compose the text collectively. At last, this must sit, they must arrange, rearrange, and then put their ideas on front, back, and middle where they are suited, and then must write, see, do the work properly for the publication of the book. Review and revision, this is another idea. Each member reads, comments, and offers suggestions for improvement. In the teamwork, in collaborative work of writing, each member has to read. Each member must comment. Each member must provide suggestions and improve for the writing. Team members must carefully and critically review the document consistency. Document consistency in writing style. There must be consistency. No ups and downs. No inconsistency. Consistent idea, coherent idea, logical idea must be incorporated in writing. And they must identify the problems with punctuation. If the problems are there in punctuation, they must solve. Grammar and word selection, what sort of words they need to select according to the just demand of the text, and offer suggestions to correct them. They must offer them suggestions to correct all the ideas, right? At last, proofreading to check typos. They must proofread. Spelling errors and grammatical errors, it happens, right, in writing. It is to check facts and the data and information that should be correct. Data should be correct, and facts should be correct. Information should be correct. Those ideas must be checked. And authentic and reliable. Those ideas must be authentic as well as reliable. The feedback helps the writer to improve the draft by incorporating the suggestions. When feedback comes, and writers improve the draft by incorporating the feedbacks, right, and suggestions. The primary writer may take the majority of writing tasks. There would be primary writer, second writer, third, right? So primary writer takes the majority of writing tasks, right? This is how the writing process in a collaborative form moves ahead. Now, guidelines for successful teamwork of writing. How we can make that writing successful. How that writing should be made successful in the teamwork. For successful collaboration, team members must constantly negotiate and communicate during the creation of the document. They must negotiate. They must just communicate during the creation of the document. There are tentatively 7 types of the guidelines for successful teamwork of writing. That is, form a group. First of all, they have to make a group, form a group. Select a team leader, and there must be team leader. Everyone, if we become leaders, and it is impossible. Establish ground rules. What may be the rules of writing? Okay, we should establish the ground rules, and that rules should be followed. Right? Respect co-authors. There are different co-authors. There should be respect. There should be quite honoring to one another. Should not have negative feelings to the co-authors one another. No superiority and inferiority should be there as co-authors. Be flexible. They must be flexible, changeable to have a discussion, and meet and discuss and share. They must meet all the time. They must discuss their ideas, and they must share and use the technology. If they do not know how to use the technology, and then successful writing become collaboratively, right, meaningful. Forming a team is important one. first line, that establishing a team, form a team, that is what I'm explaining. While selecting team members, skills and knowledge are equally important. Skillless person cannot just write. Without a knowledge person cannot write. So selecting a team leader is to be done carefully, and the leader must be able to lead the team through the entire process of planning and motivating. The leader must be motivator like. Leader must be almost capable of handling everything else. An entire process of planning, just a concept of motivation, that must be mentor to others. Leader of the group writers must be a mentor. In establishing the ground rules, each member must understand his or her responsibility. While ground rules are made, and each member, each writer, each person who is involving in the writing must understand his or her responsibility. Without understanding his or her responsibility, that writing cannot go smoothly. Respecting the co-author is necessary, and we must so respect the co-authors and give feedback. Show the respect and give feedback. Should not be just careless about the co-authors, because all co-authors are equally important in their writing process, right? If one co-author does not write properly, and the whole text can be ruined. The team must be flexible and open to discuss alternative possibilities, right? Alternative possibilities must be just discussed. Being flexible, that must be open to discuss, that must be flexible to discuss. The team must hold frequent face-to-face meetings. There must be face-to-face meetings, and to facilitate direct communication. They must have a direct communication, sharing ideas and resolving problems. They must just share ideas. They must solve the problems. Otherwise, writing cannot become successful. Using technology is writing. In writing becomes okay, not ease. There is in. Using technology in writing, not ease. In writing becomes unmanageable, right? In writing, not easy writing. In writing, unmanageable without a proper knowledge of the technology. If we do not have the proper knowledge of technology, how we can write? And using the computer, laptop, and writing process, and other concept of indent, and there are many techniques. Spacing, those techniques must be unmanageable without, and that becomes unmanageable without the proper knowledge of the technology. The writing process is not so easy task, but it is possible to do through the teamwork. If we go through the teamwork, it is possible. While forming teamwork, the leader of the team is to be made perfectly and properly, and it depends. The entire work of collaborative work of just writing depends upon the leading ideas of the leader, right? If we fail to work in a teamwork, the writing cannot go ahead properly and perfectly. This is how some of the guidelines are also given there. So, non-verbal and visual communication, as well as writing process, I talked about. Now, next time I'll come with the next ideas. Maybe it is all about the non-verbal and visual. Thank you. Read it.